welcome. I'm Min Kobayashi, and today I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for March 2019. And I haven't done a wrap-up in a little while, so maybe I'll go back and do my January and February, who even knows. I'm going to be talking about the 5 books that I read in this month, and that is the least amount of books I've ever read in a month, I think. Since joining BookTube at least. The first one, I was a total person and read the entire book in the bookstore, and got so much judgment because I have a bookstore way too much close to my school, and people were walking by being like, why are you sitting on the floor reading? Anyways, for that was The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one by Amanda Lovelace. This is a feminist poet who talks a lot about women who are magical and can have their own voice. I really liked the first one, The Princess Saves Herself, in this one, and I read that I think in February. This one I did enjoy. It didn't necessarily hit the points that the first one did, and near the end I found that she kind of just went into these things that weren't really poems. I was kind of confused. There was also guest poets, which were cool, but they're kind of hit or miss. So I gave this 3 stars. I would reread it, but it wasn't something that was life-changing. Then I gave 4 stars to Love Her Wild, the Atticus poems. This one was a magical experience, and I really did like it a lot. It is an anonymous poet who writes in a way that talks about love, talks about her or the person of his affection, as well as just wildness. And I read it twice, actually. I read it to myself, and then I read it to my roommates, and they're not huge fans of poetry, but they did really like it. And the one they really liked, I think, is Monet had to grow his gardens before he painted them. And there was many others that just talked very vividly about things very simplistically, and that's kind of I love about modern poetry, and I think he captured it so well. I gave 2 stars to Two Dark Rains by Kendari Blake. I've had my ups and downs about this series. I didn't realize this. So the first one is called 3 Dark Crowns, and I gave 3 stars. The second one's called One Dark Thorn, and I gave 1 star to, and this one is called 2 Dark Rains, and I gave 2 stars to, so maybe it'll be 5 stars for the last one. This story follows 3 queens who are destined to battle one another and kill each other when they turn 16. And they are triplets, and it sounded so interesting. I wanted to read this book forever, simply because it just sounded like a magical experience. Except for I was expecting a lot more death, and the first one I was like, it ended pretty epically. The second one I was like, oh, this is too good and feeling for what I want. So it was originally supposed to be a duology, and then it kind of slipped into being a quartet, and this one goes back a lot into the history, and we get to meet an older queen and things like that, and that is super cool. I really liked that plot. The modern story that was going on, I was like, eh, so I gave it 2 stars. If it had just been about the queen, can you write a spin-off series about that? Because I like that one a lot, and I want to read it. I would probably be 3, maybe 4 stars. This one, 2 stars. I just don't feel very connected to her characters. They don't feel very palpable, and her characters just end up being a little bit too overly cruel or overly kind. 5 stars, Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This blew me away. This was an incredible novel. It is so whimsical and beautiful. It has so much satire and hilarity in it. That's totally my kind of humor. I adored it. I love it when things become so over-bureaucratic and we just go into the bureaucracy of everything. I think it's so funny. And her mystery and her clue-giving was so excellent. It's deliciously dark, but then also humorful at the same time. And it follows this girl who is cursed to die on her 11th birthday, and it's hilarious because at the beginning she just has to everyone, if she makes eye contact with someone or remarks on the weather, she has to write apologies, and her father has to write them paychecks for ruining things that she didn't ruin just by existing. And it's super humorful, and then that's not a word, humorous. And then we have her get whisked off to Nevermore, which is a beautiful 5th realm in this area. We have trains that don't stop and you just hook on by umbrellas, and just magical everything. We have so many cool twists on things like Father Christmas and the Yule Queen and like why we wear green and red, and just cool things that like exist in our world, and being like, this is a magical way to look at it. I adored it so much. I cannot wait to read Wondersmith. I have it like right beside me and I'm going to start soon. And I have 4 stars, A Large Expanse of Sea by Tahira Mafi. And this one was wonderful. I've wanted to read it since I heard about it. It is 2002 America with a Muslim teen who wears a hijab and her experiences at life. And it was a really important story to tell. Tahira Mafi is Muslim, she does wear a hijab, and I just really enjoyed this. And also it has like this epic breakdancing in it as well. And I think that she did a really great job of making it melancholy and hopeful at the same time, because the racism that was experienced was so harsh and so heartbreaking. And yet there's also this glimmer of hope that's not too high to make it like washed out the bad, and it balances itself so right, and she has such beautiful writing. And I like that the characters were quite flawed, and the romance was, like, romance is never my thing, but I thought that the romance was done fairly good. And yeah, I really did enjoy it a lot. It's something that like really seared my heart. One of my best friends is Muslim, and she doesn't wear a hijab unless she's praying, but it's something that hit me really personally. I was like, oh wow, I don't like that we live in this world. And I went to high school 10 years after this. I started high school in 2011, but it was still like, yeah, this is what life was like. And yeah, it broke my heart so much. Wow, I'm tearing up right now. These were the novels that I read in the month of March. Tell me which was your favorite book to read and which book you're most excited to read next month, and what are your thoughts on the books I read? Are they similar? Are they different? Tell me. I'm looking forward to your thoughts, and happy reading, writing, and creating, and I will see you next time.